Okay, so first we'll start with how to get the coarse polenta going, or the polenta integrale. So first you want to start with your liquid, and you'll add all the liquid to a hot pan. And you want to bring this liquid to a boil. So 1 part cream or milk, in this case this is milk, whole milk, to 3 parts water. And then we'll season this liquid with a little bit of salt. A few pinches, not so it's salty, it's just so it just has a little bit seasoned, so it starts to permeate around the polenta when it goes in. Okay, and as soon as the liquid comes up to a boil, you give it a little bit of a whisk, and you slowly just add the polenta to it. Like so. Okay, so if you get a shot in here, you see it doesn't look like anything's really happening. And because it takes a while for this polenta really to do anything that looks like polenta. And it's just because it's so coarse and it's so dry that it's going to take a while to absorb the liquid and start to like bloom into something recognizable. So a really good tip at this point is to bring the liquid back to a boil, and then to turn the heat on low and let it cook at the very lightest simmer until you start to see the liquid start to thicken quite a bit. And at that point in time, it'll start to resemble polenta or something thick. And then after that, for maybe the next hour and 15, hour and a half, it's good to have a little bit of an air gap or a diffuser in between your heat and the bottom of your pan. This way you don't get too much scorching. Now, if you start to get a little bit of scorching, it's totally fine. The trick would be, as you're stirring, don't grind the whisk to the bottom of the pan, okay? Because all you're gonna do is stir that little crust that develops into the polenta. So actually what'll happen is, and even happens here, even though we use a diffuser, you'll start to get a little film of polenta along the bottom. That'll caramelize on the bottom of the pan, right? In fact, sometimes you can even make a cracker out of it when you're done pouring it off, which is very cool. But don't worry about it. Just don't try to lift it off. So what we do is we slide this underneath. And at home over a burner, you could even slide something like this. Okay, so your burner would be underneath that. It would make a little air pocket, and you just control your heat, and that way it helps separate the direct flame right from the pan. Okay, so once it comes to a boil, you add the polenta the same way, just stirring just so it doesn't clump up. And this one, of course, comes together much quicker. And so it's good to continually whisk this, just slowly. You don't have to whisk it maybe as aggressively as I'm doing. But you want to bring it back to a boil, and you can see right away, unlike this polenta here, how much more viscosity there is more quickly. And you can continue to look at it. It'll continue to tighten up, as you can see. Yeah, whereas this one, still nothing really going on. So just be careful as it starts to thicken up, whether it's the fine or the coarse. When it boils, it can tend to shoot out polenta like that. And you just want to make sure it doesn't splat and land on your skin, because it'll burn. You can see it like that. Be careful. But this is complete. So this took 2 minutes. And it makes a really nice polenta. It doesn't matter that it's instant. Okay, so to finish the dish, this should be, as it sits, it's going to thicken. You just saw me add just a touch of water. But, we like to have it like a really thick puree. like a really thick puree, but not clumpy. You know, so it's good to make, if you're going to use the polenta that's cooks more instantly, it's good to make it right before you're going to serve it, because it only takes 2 minutes. If you make it and let it sit around, you know, it'll start to harden. And in fact, if you poured it out on a tray and put it in your refrigerator, this polenta would also become like hard, and you could cut it and saute it, you know. So when you see sometimes like polenta cakes, it's typically made with this polenta. This is very achievable fast as well. So anyways, if you want to have it not clumpy and make sure it's good consistency, it's good to make it right before you're going to use it. Okay, okay, so to finish this simple dish, you take a plate. Take a little. Well, you can see. It's like 2 times as thick as risotto, maybe. Okay, then you have a ragu. In this case, we have a little bit of ground pork ragu, prosciutto, sofrito, a bunch of vegetables, wine, and broth. You can use any ragu. We put a little in the center like this, really nice. Okay. Okay. And we like to use a little bit of olive oil. Okay. And then a little drizzle of Parmigiano. Okay. Simple and delicious. Enjoy. Montasio Vecchio, and we actually mix a little bit of Parmesan to this. So when I say Vecchio, I mean old, much like Parmigiano is an aged cheese. So the less moisture, the crispier the result. Make sense? And so we take this, we make like a little sprinkle. If you don't want to do it so freehand, you could put a little mold around the outside to ensure that you had a, you know, perfect circle or what have it. It's not necessary. If it's irregular in shape, it's fine. And this is really how we do it. You know? Okay, so a nice thin layer. You don't want to build up the cheese too much. If you build up the cheese too much, it's not going to cook, and you'll get parts that are soggy and not hard like a cracker. Yeah. So when the cheese melts, it'll connect roughly. You don't need to worry about making every single cheese touch each other. As you can see, there's spaces here. Okay, so you close the microwave, and here it's a commercial microwave, but at home you just do some testing and you'll figure it out. We put it about start at 45 seconds, and we'll check it out. So it's about a minute or so. So you take this out, you pull it out. You can see how it's hot, but it cools really quickly, and so you want to work relatively fast. Okay. Like this, and like that. Put your hand on it. If you don't want to touch it, you can of course put another bowl. You know, our hands are a little bit numb to heat now these days, so I can put my hand over top of it. But if you don't want to touch it, if you find it too hot, you just put a like bowl on top. It'll hold this same shape. Okay. And so this could be done if you don't want to order Montasio cheese online. You can just use Parmesan. The only difference will be that Parmesan would be a little bit more salty, and it'll cook quicker because there's less moisture. And you want to watch the salt maybe in the polenta and any other garnish you might use with it, so it doesn't end up being too salty of a dish. The other actually beautiful thing you can use this for is you can also make nice little salads in the summertime. And you can fill this up with a green salad with like arugula, and it's really nice. So as you can see, that's very pretty. Okay. If you wanted to turn it over, you can obviously put the shiny side on the inside. You'd flip it one more time. But we like to have be looking at all the, looks like coral almost. It's more interesting. So again, this is the Polenta Integrale. It has the milk in the water, just some salt. You don't need anything else. Have lemon juice if you like to add a little acidity. We just put this inside. Okay. Okay, and then this is a really unusual cheese, but easy to find as well. This is smoked ricotta. Okay, and it has a nice flavor. So we grate a little. This is an interesting grater, but usually typically used for Parmesan, where you can fill this up and we can grate cheese as we go during the night so it doesn't dry out. So for a soft cheese like this, a regular box grater would be better. But it serves the purpose for this. Okay, so here you go. We just put a little smoked cheese, and you can smell already, you know, how nice it is. Okay, and then we take hot brown butter at the very end, which is just caramelized milk solids that are inside the butter itself. So whisk it as you cook down a pat of butter, and you'll start to see some darkening. As you can see, some darkening. And just stir those darkened flecks around. They'll help permeate the butter and turn it into almost like a hazelnut flavor. If the solids burn, then they'll make the butter taste burnt. But if they stay nice and golden brown, they'll eventually create a nice perfume in the butter, and it'll look like this. Okay, so you add this on at the end. Okay. And it kind of melts the cheese. It's really pretty. Tastes really good. Okay, that's it. A simple dish. Great winter dish. So try these at home. 2 simple winter polenta dishes. One with instant polenta, a little condiment like a ragu, and another one is a simple first course with polenta integrale. Buon appetito, and don't be scared of polenta.